Okay, so this is Unit 3. Here at the beginning here, not a whole lot of calculator use. This is, if you took AP psychology, you would, this, this stuff will make a lot of sense. So let's get started to data collection. So a lot of vocabulary here. So population is who you're drawing, you're picking from all the groups. So we're trying to study an entire group of individuals. Maybe it's all of the adults in the United States. So it could be a big group of folks. A census, in fact, for all adults in the United States, a census collects data from every individual every 10 years. That happens in the United States. And so notice it says every individual, not just a sample, but everybody. The goal of a census, at least in theory, is to get every single person data from everybody. A sample is a subset of individuals in the population for which we collect. So if there's all, adults, when we take a political poll, they're just taking a sample, right? They're sampling maybe 1,000 or so people, adults from around the nation, trying to figure out which candidate is going to win. Okay, so let's try one. The quality control manager at a factory selects 10 computer monitors from the monitors produced during a particular hour and inspects each monitor for defects in construction and performance. So what is the population? So you're selecting 10 computer monitors from what group? From the monitors produced during a particular hour. So I think the population would be the monitors produced during a particular hour, and the sample would be the 10 computer monitors that were selected. Okay. So again, because it says during that hour, it's not all produced, all day long or for all time. It's just during that hour because of the way they define that. Prior to an election, a news organization selects 1,000 registered voters to predict which candidate will be elected president. So here, the population is not as it's not as crystal clear. You have to know that only adults can vote, 18 years and older. And so I think the population would be all U.S. adults who are, citizens who are eligible to vote, I guess. And then the sample would be the 1,000 registered voters that were selected. So they just said all registered voters. I said adults because kids can't vote. A sample survey is a study that collects data from a sample to learn about the population which sample was selected. Random sampling involves using a chance process to determine which members of a population are chosen for the sample. We'll go more in detail into that later in the chapter. But right now we're just calling it random sampling. So there's an observational study. Does not attempt to influence the process. There's no treatment or anything. It's just keep asking some questions or something. If you're talking about existing data, it's called retrospective, so looking backwards. If you're talking about tracking individuals into the future, like will they get cancer or something, that's a prospective study. An experiment deliberately imposes treatment. So there's some kind of, drug you're giving people or a different kind of teaching method or something that you're applying to them or you're changing their diet or something to the experimental units or the people and measuring their responses. So it has some kind of treatment to it. So the big idea first is an observational study or experiment. So this one, researchers at Columbia University randomly select 1,000 teenagers in the United States for a survey. According to an ABC News story about the research, teenagers who eat with their families at least 5 times a week are more likely to get better grades in school. So the question is, was a treatment imposed or not? I don't think they forced these kids to eat with their parents or something. It just says like they just kind of like found out if they were, and then were you more likely to get better grades or not? So this is not an experiment. It's definitely an observational study. And is this retrospective or prospective? I think it's retrospective. Because we're not really following them into the future, like are you going to get better grades in college or something? It's not that. Does the pace of background music affect how fast people eat? Oh, I think it might actually. Okay, so what's the question? So is it an observational study or an experiment? So here they are imposing some kind of treatment, I think, right? The treatment is different kinds of music. Maybe one group gets the slow music, one group gets the fast music, see what happens. So that goes on to say researchers at this university asked volunteers to eat a piece of chocolate and rate it for taste and other features. Again, that's got a treatment to it, right? So, um, yeah, because you're giving them something, and so they recorded the amount of time, they measured it. After averaging time was short of the group and listened. So they went on just, I thought they would put that all together. This is definitely an experiment because they were assigned to either the slow or the fast group when they were eating. And again, experimental units are the volunteers, in this case, the people. I thought it would be like this, where they put it all together. The National Health and Nutritional Examination Survey is a long-term research project that studies health and nutrition in adults and children in the United States. One random sample of 2,437 young adults, aged 18 to 25, found that those who reported consuming food with added sugar, such as drinking soda or eating brownies, at least 5 times per week, had a 73% higher risk of developing periodontal disease than those who reported eating no added sugar. I think that kind of makes sense. Okay, so what's the question? I don't think there is a question, is there? Can we generalize this result to all US adults? I mean, I know we haven't talked about this, but what's the population here, right? What's the population we're studying? We're studying young adults, age 18 to 25. And really, we just have 2,437. So all US adults, like, would this apply to me? I'm not a young adult. I don't think it would. So weren't part of the population which the sample was selected. So they only surveyed young adults. So you can't, you know, kind of generalize to all US adults. What is the largest population? We can generalize this to young adults age 18 through 25 in the United States, to be more specific. Should we conclude that eating foods with added sugar causes periodontal disease? So I think the question here is this an experiment or an observational study? Um, so those who reported consuming food, so they're not feeding him food or making him drink soda or making him eat brownies. That would be the best study ever if they just made me eat a lot of brownies, at least 5 times per week. Um, they're not making, so I think this is, we can't say causation because we don't have an experiment, right? So it's only an observational study. Didn't assign the adults, so you would expect that to happen if there was, if we could prove causation, it'd have to be an experiment. Okay, you're done with the lessons. Try a couple of practice problems. Identify the population and the sample in these two settings. To estimate the length of time a patient must wait in the ER for a hospital during 1 week, the hospital staff record how many minutes it takes for each of the 50 patients to be treated by an ER doctor or nurse from the moment they enter the ER. Okay, so what's the population? So hopefully you can do this one. So they definitely took a sample of 50 patients, but it's um, during 1 week. So during that 1 week, all of the patients that came into the ER is the population. But the sample was just the 50 that were selected there. Hopefully randomly selected. We don't want to just select people. Companies hired to check lifeguard readiness at a local community pool. I like this idea, kind of checking to make sure lifeguards are paying attention. The company obtains the schedule of lifeguard shifts for the next 2 months. For that schedule, the company selects 20 different shifts, which the lifeguards will be given an unannounced test of their skills. Okay, so they selected 20 different shifts. So how many shifts are there? So there are all of these shifts at the local community pool during the 2 month period. And then the 20 would be the sample that they selected. Determine whether each of the following settings describes an observational study or experiment. 64-year-old children were randomly divided into 3 groups by researchers from the University of Virginia. One group showed a fast-paced cartoon, one group showed an educational cartoon, one group given art supplies and instructed to draw pictures. All the children spent 9 minutes doing their assigned activity. Afterwards, the children who watched the fast-paced cartoon scored significantly lower than the 2 groups on 4 different tests that measured executive functioning, planning, self-control, etc. Okay, so they were divided into 3 groups and they did 3 different things. That's an experiment, right? Because they were told to watch this or do that, so that's an experiment. Based on a study of 14,000 people across 15 countries, researchers found that people who visit a coastal area more often tended to have better overall health. Ah, it's great. In particular, those who never visited the coast were 2.13 times as likely to report they had bad health compared to those who visited the coast at least once a week. Are they making us visit the coast? Are they paying for us to go to the beach or something here? I don't think they are. I think that this sounds like an observational study, right? They were assigned to visit the coast, so it's observational. Okay, all National Health Review survey asked a random sample of US adults, age 18 and older, they experienced depression symptoms, mild, moderate, or severe in the past year. One key finding was that 21.5% of adults with a high school diploma or less experienced depression compared to 12.4% of adults with a college degree or greater. What is the largest population to which we can generalize the results? So they asked a random sample of US adults. So all US adults, right? Because they asked a random sample of that population. Should we conclude that increasing educational attainment caused a decrease in depression symptoms? So is this an experiment or observational study? We said it's observational. If they experienced any, we're asking questions. We're not forcing them to be depressed or something. So we can't prove causation without an experiment. So no, this is an observational study. They didn't assign. So in the experiment, you assign some kind of treatment to a group. That's your lesson for today.